Honorable members of Parliament, ministries, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. We feel honored and privileged to be here standing in front of you and talking about Somaliland. We thank you for the opportunity, and special thanks goes to the UKEP team who worked so hard to make this event possible. We believe that we deserve to be heard. After all, we're a member of the international community and an old one for that. The time when we could afford to ignore what's happening in faraway places and countries is no longer. The world has become a very small place. It has shrunk. We are all affected by what's happening around the world. The purpose of my presentation today is to share with you what we have achieved in the past 25 years and what's at stake. My presentation is called Somaliland in Figures 2015. And I will be using a PowerPoint for a change. Next slide. This is Somaliland, a country in the Horn of Africa. Next slide. Right. Which lies between 8 and 12 degrees parallel north and 42 and 49 meridian east. The area is 137,600 square kilometers, slightly bigger than England. We have a coastline on the Red Sea, which is 850 kilometers. Average rainfall is about 350 millimeters. Somaliland is an arid country, but with that amount of rainfall, we still receive up to 4.8 billion cubic meters of water. Capital, Hargeisa, with a population of about 1 million. We have common boundaries with Djibouti in the west, Ethiopia in the south, and Somalia in the east. And in the north, we share a marine boundary with Yemen. The population of Somaliland, according to the UNFPA survey carried out in 2013, is 3.51 million. Out of which 53% live in urban areas. The population is a very young population. The percentage below 15 years is 46%. 46% are less than 15. Mean age, 21 years old. And gender is more or less balanced. Male is a little bit slightly more than females. We have a democratic republican system where within the executive branch we have a president-elect and a vice president-elect and a cabinet of 27 ministries. We have also within the executive 22 autonomous public agencies, and we have 42 local authorities. In the legislative, we have 2 houses. The House of Representatives, we have 82 in that house, and the House of Elders, 82 again. The reason why we have the House of Elders, which is not elected but rather appointed, is to ensure that we use the traditional system of dispute resolution and at the same time ensure that our system is inclusive. Because if you only rely on the elected representatives, then the majority communities will dominate the political scene. So just to make sure that everybody is in there, we have the House of Elders. The judicial system consists of district courts, we have 37, and then regional courts, 9 of them, appeal courts in the region 6, and a Supreme Court, which is also the Constitutional Court. Now, on the political parties, we have 3 political parties. That's what the Constitution says. There must be only 3 political parties. And that's because we want to avoid, and that's based on experience, on fragmentation along tribal lines. Because there was a time when we had like 70 plus political parties. Every small village had its own political party, and that's not the way to form a nation. But nevertheless, every 10 years, we open the political space. Every 10 years, we invite everybody who wants to set a party to set up a party. And they compete in the local elections, and the 3 most successful parties become the official parties for the coming 10 years. So it's quite innovative. You know, people are not closed down. You know, if you have different ideas, you know, you can still have the chance to set up your own party. We had 5 elections. The first election, first we have the national referendum, which was mentioned by the minister in 2001. In that referendum, 97% of the people voted for independence. So we had a referendum already. And then in 2002, we have the first local council elections. And then in 2012, we have again council elections. In 2005, we have parliamentary elections. And 2003, presidential election. 2010, again a presidential election. All these 5 elections were supervised by the international community. We have observers from around the world, and they were all declared fair and free. No dispute, nothing, you know. There has been a peaceful change of government in all of them. Now, this year, sorry, I said next year, no, this year. We have, the next election is, we have this year in 2015, we have the presidential elections and the parliamentary elections. Big challenge. We have a very vibrant media. We have 3 radio stations, a government station, Radio Hargeisa, plus the BBC FM. We have a BBC FM, and we have also the Voice of America FM. Somaliland. Yes. And we have 4 local TV stations. But we have also other stations represented in Somaliland. But we have 4 Somaliland TV stations in Hargeisa, and we have 14 newspapers. 11 Somali newspapers and 3 English newspapers. Now the economy. According to the World Bank survey in 2012, the GDP of Somaliland, or the gross domestic product, is $1.56 billion US dollars. That's the nominal GDP. And that's translated into per capita income of $444 US dollars. Now, the sectors which contribute to that are headed by livestock. Livestock contributes 28.4%. Wholesale and retail contribute to 21.9%. We are a trading nation, you know. And real estate and construction now 9.6%, and agriculture 7.8%. When it comes to exports, of course, we export what we produce most, which is livestock. Sheep and goats, we exported last year 3,089,592. A lot of sheep and goats. And cattle, we exported 252,397. And camels, 64,578. We also exported hides and skins. We exported 3,194,000 pieces, 738. Gums and raisins is 1,056 tons. We have frankincense. You know, Somaliland was the, we have been trading in gums and raisins, and frankincense is the Faroes. That's one of our natural resources.
And the animals are all sent to the Middle East.
Yes. Yeah. As far as imports are concerned, imports are dominated by food. We imported in 2014 487,000 tons, 969. And that's followed by building material, which shows, the reconstruction of the country because of the devastation that we suffered during the 80s and the early 90s. And of course, fuel. A lot of people are buying, cars, bringing into the country cars. So fuel is also one of the main imports, and others constitute like 316,576 tons. We imported a total of, can you go back on the previous slide? Thank you. We imported a total of 1.11 million tons of products. Our main trading partners are the Middle East, Saudi Arabia. Our livestock go to Saudi Arabia, most of it, to Yemen and the United Arab Emirates. We have a lot of trade with Ethiopia and with Yemen as well, being so close markets. On the manufactured products, I think China is dominant at the present time. We import rice from Thailand and sugar from Brazil. I haven't included in the list, but in that list, within the European Union, I think you will find Italy and the Netherlands. Netherlands, we import milk. From Italy, pasta, mostly. Transport. We have about 800 kilometers of paved road. Not all of it in good condition. The main road that links, us and Somalia and goes all the way to Berbera was built by the Chinese way back. And the road from Berbera to Hargeisa, the capital, was built by the Lebanese. I think it was funded by the EU, in fact.
ADB.
Is it ADB? Oh, no, Development Development Bank. Okay. That was in the 70s.
72.
Yes, or in 1972. We have several small ports, but one international port, which was built by the Russians and by the Americans during the Cold War era. Last year, 770 vessels called on it, ships and boats. It has 5 berths and a row and a quay of about 650 meters. We have 2 international airports, International Airport of Berbera and the International Airport of Hargeisa. The International Airport of Berbera has the longest runway in Africa, that's what we say. It's about 13,000 feet long, in fact more than 13,000 feet long. In 2013, we had about 1,133 arrivals, mostly from the diaspora. In the summer, we get a lot of people from the diaspora coming back to Somaliland. We have 5 airlines with scheduled flights. Ethiopian Airline, they have a daily flight. Sometimes they have, in fact, 2 flights a day. And then we have Jubba and Dalo, which are Somali indigenous airlines. And then we have African Express and East Africa, which are Kenyan airlines. And soon we're going to have the Fly Dubai, I suppose. The fiscal policy, this should be, I think, of some interest to you. The budget for 2015, excluding any money from the international community, is $237 million US. That all comes from taxation. Nevertheless, the public sector is very small. According to the World Bank Again survey in 2012, the government accounts for just 9.5% of the GDP, which I think is much smaller than what you have here in Europe. In terms of taxes, our corporate tax is flat, 10%. Our income tax is 6% flat, and we have a VAT rate which is only 5%, much smaller than what you have here. And but because the economy is very much informal, not a lot of taxes is collected. Our taxes mainly come from customs and excise at the ports. Now, education. In the educational year 2012-2013, we had 974 primary schools, and our primary school enrollment was 442,906. Net primary enrollment, nevertheless, is only 53%, which means 47% of the school-age children do not go to school at the present time. and that must change. We have 25 universities registered with the Ministry of Education, and we graduate 4,000 to 5,000 young males and females each year. Now this graph tells you really how much we have achieved since 1999. In 1999, we had only 144 schools. And by 2013, we have 974 schools. In 1991, when the refugees came back to Somaliland, we hardly had any schools. So from 0 schools in 25 years to 974 schools. We have made also quite remarkable progress in the health area. Can you go back? Right, thank you very much. Public hospitals, 2012. We have more hospitals now, I think, in 2014, but this is the statistics I have for 2012. Public hospital is 16, private hospital is 9. We have MCHs, mother and child health centers, 91, health posts is 164, mobile clinics 9, mental health institutions 4, altogether 293 health facilities in the country, and that's more now. And here again, you can see from the graphs the progress that has been made in the last 10 years. In 2002, we had only 75 facilities, but by 2012, we have 293 facilities, so that has changed remarkably. Now, our vision is to establish a stable, democratic, and prosperous country where people enjoy high quality of life, and we have a plan to achieve the vision. We have a 5-year rolling plan, and the first 5-year plan is from 2012 to 2016. The plan has 5 pillars, what we call an infrastructure pillar, social pillar, governance pillar, economy, the environment, and the environment. This plan was done by us. It wasn't done with the assistance of anybody. We did it on our own. The total budget for the 5-year is 1,191,000,000. Next. Now, if I go back. The main sources of the fund that we require to achieve the plan, or to fund the plan, is the government. We allocate at least 10% of the budget for development. We also rely on the diaspora from Somaliland. We also expect the private sector to invest to account for some of that. But the money, we think, mainly should be coming from the international community because of the financial situation in which we are. Now, our priorities are international recognition and peace and stability, strengthening the democratic process, raising performance of public institutions, building the productive capacity, and protecting the environment. These are really the key. Can you go back, please? Thank you. We think the international recognition is absolutely critical and important. You take care of that, we take care of the rest. You don't have to worry about the rest. Now, EU is our main funders. In fact, it's the biggest donor, followed by the UK and Denmark. According to the EU report, the EU supported in 2013 projects up to the tune of 33.8 million US dollars, and broken down in that category in infrastructure, and that's mainly water. In infrastructure, 16.89 million. In the economy, in the economic sector, 14.7. The social sector, mainly education. That's mainly education, 2.02, and governance, 0.27%. So the EU is a very important partner in our development program. And here is a word of advice. We believe that success should be rewarded, not failure. At the present time, the focus mostly on Somalia, because Somalia has failed. There's little attention being given to Somaliland because it's peaceful and nice, Nice people don't get attention. It's always the naughty boy who gets the attention. We also believe in doing no harm. We believe that the EU should avoid any policies or actions that may harm Somaliland directly or indirectly in its endeavor to rebuild Somalia. We also would like the international community, particularly the EU and the EU members, to deliver on their commitment to the Somali Compact and the Somaliland Special Arrangement. There was a conference on the Somali Compact here in Brussels in 2013. And in that conference, a lot of commitments were made, and we hope the donors will honor that commitment. We would like to invite the EU to join the Somaliland Development Fund. Now, this is a very interesting fund. The fund was set up by the UK government and by the Danish government. And what is special about it is that it gives ownership to the Somaliland people. Donors put the money in a fund which is managed by a private company, not by the UN, not by INGOs, but by a private company. And the government decides what to do with the money. So we have a National Planning Commission, and we call the National Planning Commission to establish what the priorities are. In our first round, we decided that water and roads and agriculture and the environment and livestock were our priorities. So all the money is going that. In that fund, we had about 62 million at the present time. As I said earlier, it was initiated by the Danish and the UK, but this is now joined by the Netherlands and by Norway as well. And we hope the EU will join, and we would like to invite other countries, members of the EU, to join the fund. We believe the overhead cost of the fund is no more than 20%, which is pretty good. Because normally, funds that are channeled through international organizations like the UN, the overhead cost may be as much as 40–50%. And then I don't have the statistics. Don't quote me on this, but that's what we feel. So we really think it's a very good way of assisting us, and we would like to we would like to invite the EU to join the fund. And we would like also the EU to apply the principles of aid effectiveness in its programs. And that's very important. The principles of aid, the principles of aid effectiveness say that ownership should be given to the recipient. The recipient must decide what to do with the money, not the consultants, because normally you will have consultants coming into the country doing assessments, writing reports, deciding themselves, where to intervene, when and how, without really much input. I mean, they say they consulted, and they do. But really, at the end of the day, it's not us who decides, what the money is done with. It is somebody else who decides what the money is done with, because the World Bank has its own policies, the African Development Bank has its own priorities, and other people have their own agendas, So we think there's a better way of doing things. And here I have two images of Somaliland. One is a dry image, and the other one is we have lovely mountains called Gulls Mountains, and particularly in the eastern regions, we have a Dalo range, which is absolutely beautiful. I have never seen anything as beautiful, and I have been to many countries in the world. Been to Canada, USA. I used to live in the USA. I live in Switzerland, as a matter of fact, and I've been to all the Scandinavian countries, But Dalo, I think, is really special. So we have very attractive places to visit. But first, we need recognition. Thank you very much.